Howdy folks, welcome back to Black Sheep Meadow. I'm Brent.
And I'm Amber.
And today's onion planting day.
Today's onion planting day. We mentioned it a little bit on the previous video that I had gotten my first batch of onions in and I was not very happy with them. As you can see, we did plant a little bit, but I was not happy with them at all. So we got our second batch in and I am a lot happier. They
Correct.
look a lot better. I got them directly from the postman as he was delivering it. I opened them up. They look a whole lot better. And I think part of my problem with the first batch was that was the first week that they were shipping out onion starts. And I went and looked in my years past. I have ordered them later. And I was not in that first shipment. And I think that they're just naturally going to be smaller in the first couple of shipments that they're doing just because the plant's smaller.
Correct.
So I don't think it was anything necessarily like a bad batch. I think USPS handled them terribly. And then I think they were just the first run. So they're naturally going to be a little bit smaller.
And Wayne T, we want to ask, supposedly you got your onions this past Monday as well. So how'd they turn out? We'd like to know.
We'd like to know what yours look like. So I'm pretty happy with them. We definitely have a lot healthier looking onion with a much more substantial root that looks a lot healthier. So we are going to get those in the ground today. Just to touch a little bit on onions, last year we planted onions in this bed and we had them in a couple other places around the homestead.
The hugelkultur mound does far superior on every plant that we've planted in it, period, in its story.
Yes. So we kind of had them everywhere and we ended up with about 88 pounds of onions, which for me personally in our house, I have learned that that was about right for use purposes. I will probably be running out about the time we're harvesting, so that's a really good idea. This year my goal is more, and the reason being is that I dehydrated quite a few of them to make my own onion powder, dehydrated onion, and I'm going to have enough, but I would really like to have more. Just because I would like to get into blending some of my own seasonings and I would want to use some of my onion powder. Right now, the onion powder that I have, I don't want to mix in a seasoning because I use it as just straight onion powder in a recipe. And if I did that, I would run out really fast, I think. So, but I've been very, very happy with our onions.
Let's talk more about the short day, long day onions too.
Okay.
This is crucial. We made several mistakes our first few years growing onions and we were not near as successful as we've been in the most recent years past.
Right, so there are 3 different zones for onions. You have a short day, which is us here in the South. You have intermediate, which is the middle belt of the United States. And then you have the long day, which is north. It is not a hard, fast rule like you cannot not grow short day onions in the north, but it will affect the growing day, like the cycle, and it'll affect the size of the bulb. So it's not that you can't plant them, it's just you're not necessarily going to get the product that you're looking for, or you're thinking that they're the right onion. Like what happened to us is I'd had a long day variety and I planted them when I should plant short day, which means they were planted way too early. So it messed it up. And that is something to keep in mind. That long day onion was purchased locally. So some of the box stores, this is part of what we had talked about once before.
That was Home Depot Bonnie Plants that put that out. And they specifically called that a Texas onion.
They did. I think they called it the Texas Sweet, which is a variety of onion. But you will see that in your box stores that they will have plants that are not for your growing zone. They will have vegetables in that are not necessarily for your growing zone. So keep an eye on that. Do a little bit of due diligence when you're reading the labels. And it did say on the label, long day. So I purchased it because it was local. I thought I should be able to plant these, right? Okay. So that's your short day, long day, and intermediate day. And that's pretty helpful in most places that these onions came from Dixondale Farms here in Texas. I specifically searched them out because I wanted an onion grower that was as close to me as I could get. And they're in Texas, so they were pretty close. They have really good charts and they're really good about separating. Like you click on your growing zone and they will give you the list of what's available for you. So look for that. Most of them will have something like that. The product that I ordered this year was the sampler pack, the short day sampler pack, which is a red Creole, the early white, and the Texas, the 1015Y yellow onion, which is a pretty standard onion. And I've been very happy with that 3 mix.
Correct.
Gives me a little bit of everything I want for in the kitchen and cooking and that kind of thing. So I've been very happy with that in the past, so I stuck with it. And the one thing I wanted to touch on was we talk a lot about becoming more self-sufficient and starting to grow your own food and your own product. Onions is a great place to start. They are really good companion plants. They do really well with a wide variety of plants, and they're actually kind of beneficial because they are a natural pest repellent. So look at onions. They are pretty low maintenance. Like, they're low on the maintenance scale.
Where we're at, I think the only thing we really did last year was we added a little bit of nitrogen fertilizer, and then on the dry periods I maintained a little bit of moisture in the bed.
Right. They are also a plant that appreciates a little bit higher nitrogen in the soil, so just kind of keep that in mind, just like our garlic. They just pretty simple, and because they're a good companion plant, you could get a few starts and kind of sporadically plant them.
Correct.
And then kind of forget about them.
Yeah. We could even, like in our potato bed, we can go intermingle a little bit.
Right. If we had some, if you had potatoes are a really good example. If you had some potatoes that didn't come up, or you had a little bare spot, you missed the spot because, you know, once they're in the ground, you can't see them.
Yeah.
If you realize you missed a spot, you could take some of your onions and just go put them in there. And now you've got some onion growing in that usable space, which is really, really helpful. I really encourage people to start onions.
Yep.
So let's get some of these planted. Spacing, I usually just go off my hand. So my hand's a little bit smaller. What is that? 4 or 5 inches?
You got to remember, when this, if the onion plant makes it to full maturity, that onion's going to be the size of my fist. So.
But the roots go pretty much straight down.
Straight down.
So they're not gonna
mingle out.
root out that way.
Keep them apart.
Keep them apart so that you can kind of keep them. I usually use my hand as a guide and make little holes and make a pattern, so I kind of keep them in
and then
line.
we keep our varieties together.
Well, in the sampler pack, it's kind of hard, so I think I'm just gonna not stress about them being separated.
Keep the reds away from the yellows, maybe, huh?
No, I don't think I'm even gonna try that. I could, and it would mess with my OCD, but I don't think it's really worth it at the end of the day, especially in a sampler pack, because they are not separated.
Okay.
They come intermingled. If you order them separately or you buy a single bunch, then yes, I probably would keep them separate. This time, I'm not going to try that. I have other things that I will spend more time on. Management.
So, let's get them in the ground.
Printed.
You gonna work on this half while I work on this half?
Sure.
Set those there like that. So we got all but one little bunch planted.
One little handful, and they're a little bit smaller, so we'll probably just take these and stick them in random places around the garden.
Yep.
Just to see what happens, kind of thing.
We got the full raised bed garden and the tops of both hugelkultur mounds planted with the excess onions as well.
And until the potatoes are done, that's the last thing we're planting this year.
Correct.
So we're done planting for the year until the potatoes are harvested.
It's hard to believe, but we're fixing to be into 2024 already.
We're fixing to, and we're getting close to that end of the year where we'll do our final totals for how much we actually grew this year.
Yep, and then you got to remember too, we're probably going to seed start peppers and tomatoes late December, but they're not going to be outside in the ground or anything like that.
I was talking about outside, like physically planting in the
But
ground.
anyways, do y'all think we're going to be able to get another at least 88 pounds of onions out of this? Hopefully 100, 110?
The goal is to at least grow what we had last year, but I would really like to grow more. But I'll be happy.
Yep.
I just really encourage you guys, if you haven't started growing your own onions in some form or fashion, onions are a great thing to start with.
Grow any of your own food. You don't have to grow all of it. You know, we're
something.
on a different scale. But, I mean, you know, trying, you know, my favorite words, become self-sufficient and ungovernable.
The great place to start is right here. So, thank you guys for hanging out with us. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. Did you guys get your onions in the ground yet?
Yep. If you wouldn't mind, like, subscribe, ring the little bell for notifications so you can see our faces every single week.
We'll see you guys next week. Look what I can do.
Is that am my head cut off?
I tilted it up just a little bit because we can see plenty of the bed.
Are you going to say the intro?
Do you want to?
How are you going to say it?
I think we should say it.
Think we should say it?
Yeah.